You know that feeling. You have an idea, a goal, something that genuinely lights you up inside. But the moment you take a step forward, you freeze. Because the voices are already there. What will people say? What if they laugh? What if they don't get it? That's what kills most men before they even start. At 4 Men Mastery, we talk about what actually matters. How to build yourself, your life, and move forward without looking over your shoulder at people who don't care about you anyway. And today, one of the most painful topics. Depending on other people's opinions, why it happens, how it holds you back, and most importantly, how to break free from it. Why this is even a problem. Understanding that depending on others' opinions is bad. That part's easy, you already know it. But knowing something in your head and actually stopping it are 2 very different things. As long as you are making decisions based on what others might think, you are not living your life. You are living out other people's expectations, other people's fears, other people's scripts, and every time you abandon your own idea because of someone's skepticism, you cut away a piece of yourself. This isn't a metaphor. This is literally how self-censorship works. You, with your own hands, extinguish something inside you that could have grown into something real. So where does this dependence even come from? It's built in childhood. We're taught that approval equals safety. Behave well, you get praised. Do something wrong, you get judged. And the brain files it away. Approval equals good. Criticism equals danger. This wiring worked for thousands of years when we lived in small tribes, where being cast out literally meant death. But today, you are not getting cast out of any tribe. Today, some stranger online writes something nasty to you, and you won't die. You won't lose shelter or food. Your life will continue. But your brain still reacts as if you are in mortal danger. That needs to be recognized and rewired, and that's exactly what today's video is about. The first step toward freedom is not a technique or a life hack. It's this understanding. As long as you depend on other people's opinions, you cannot walk your own path. These 2 things cannot coexist. The 4 types of people who criticize you. Before you learn not to react to criticism, you need to understand who's actually sending it and why. Because once you see the source, the power of those words drops sharply. Type 1, the misunderstood. These are people who phrased something awkwardly, harshly, or just badly, but don't actually mean you harm. If you respond to them calmly, without aggression, you'll be surprised. A lot of them will say, "Wait, that's not what I meant at all. You are actually doing great." They're not enemies. They just don't communicate well. Type 2. Those who lift themselves up by putting you down. This is the most common type. This person knows they need to do something. Change jobs, start their own thing, make a move. But they're not yet ready to face the fear of taking action. So while they stand still, they watch the people who are moving and they tear them down. It's their way of feeling significant, by belittling someone doing what they themselves are too afraid to start. You are not their target. You are just a mirror they're uncomfortable looking into. Type 3. People close to you who genuinely want good for you. This is probably the hardest type to deal with, because you don't want to fight with them. Parents, old friends, they really do care about you. But they grew up in a different time, with a different set of assumptions about how the world works. Their good is their version of reality, not yours. The balance here matters. Respect their concern, but don't let it dictate your decisions. If you can give them what they're asking for, do it in parallel with your path, but not instead of it. Type 4. Those who simply aren't where you are yet. There are people who write their comments sincerely, without malice. They just don't understand what you understand. They can't yet see what you see. In a year, in 3 years, they'll arrive at the same place. But right now, they're where you used to be. Their opinion is not a verdict on your idea. It's a snapshot of their current level of understanding. You are the main character of your film. When there is one idea that shifts your relationship with criticism faster than any technique. Imagine your life as a film. You are the lead. You have supporting characters, extras, background crowd. And then there are roles like cab driver number 3, someone who appears in one frame and is never seen again. Most of the people whose opinions paralyze you, that's who they are. Cab driver number 3. They have nothing to do with your story. They've invested nothing in you. They won't be around when you succeed. They just pass by and toss out a word, and you let that word stop your entire film. Don't let cab driver number 3 direct your life. Practical tools. Where to start? When you are just beginning to work on this, you need concrete tools. Here are a few that actually work. Collect counter evidence. Every time you receive support, recognition, or gratitude, record it, screenshot it, write it down, save it. In moments when it feels like everything is against you, this will remind you of the actual picture. Remember, the statistics don't change. If 1,000 people see your work, a few of them will leave something negative, regardless of how good that work is. That's not a signal about you, it's just math. Even the most respected and helpful people get criticized. That's the norm, not the exception. Ask yourself one question. The last time you watched something that didn't interest you or didn't resonate, did you leave a negative comment? Almost certainly not. You just moved on. That's what any reasonable person does, which means the people who write negativity aren't reasonable people. Their opinion is not representative. The story that explains everything. Picture this. You have an idea, something you've been thinking about for a long time, something that genuinely excites you. You share it with someone in your circle, and you get skepticism back. That's not serious. You really believe in that? Forget it. Do something real. And you drop it. Because you wanted support and got a cold shower instead. 5 years pass. You are doing the sensible thing that brings you no joy. And then you see it. The very person who talked you out of your idea is now doing something remarkably similar. And they've made it work. What happened? They didn't steal your idea. They simply arrived at it themselves. A year later, 2 years later. They weren't where you were back then. But you let their temporary lack of understanding block your permanent potential. This is the key thing to internalize. When you share your idea with someone who isn't ready to understand it yet, you don't get an honest assessment. You get a reflection of their current limitations. That's why at 4Men Mastery we say, real ideas don't need approval. They need action. Indifference as strength. All the techniques we've talked about are tools for the early stage. They help you endure, hold steady, not break. That matters. But the real goal is something else entirely. It's not learning to tolerate criticism. It's reaching a state where criticism simply stops mattering, not because you've grown a thick skin, but because you know so clearly where you are going and why, that other people's words literally slide right past you. You start reading a comment and immediately see it's irrelevant, so you stop reading. Not out of anger, not out of arrogance, it's just not interesting. Because your attention is occupied by what actually matters. You don't arrive at this state in a day. It's the result of many repetitions, many situations where you chose to act, in spite of fear. Every time you publish, launch, begin, and receive criticism but keep going, you are getting harder. Not in the sense of becoming numb, but in the sense of no longer treating it as a threat. Think of it like training. The first time you step into cold water, it's a shock. The 10th time, it's familiar. The 100th, it's normal. Criticism works the same way. You get used to it not because you've learned to lose, but because you see it doesn't stop you, it just exists, and you keep going. That's freedom, not the absence of criticism, but its total irrelevance to you. What actually matters? In the end, there are only 3 things that count. First, what you do, and whether it genuinely helps the people you want to help. Second, the result you are building in your own life. Third, how you feel every day doing your work. Everything else is noise. The opinions of people who don't know you, who don't live your life, and who bear no responsibility for your decisions. That's noise. In 100 years, everyone who currently has an opinion about you will be dead. So will you. The only thing that will have mattered is what you built while you were alive. Conclusion. Depending on other people's opinions is not a character flaw. It's a habit, and habits can be changed. Through understanding, through practice, through repeating the right responses until they become automatic. At 4Men Mastery, we believe one thing. A man who knows himself and knows his path doesn't need permission to move. He just moves. The only person you need permission from is yourself. Start small. The next time fear of someone's judgment washes over you, remember who that person is in your film. Cab driver number 3 doesn't get to direct your story. He doesn't even have access to the editing room. See criticism as fuel, not a stop sign. Every "you'll never make it" is one more reason to keep going. Because when you do make it, and you'll know you did it in spite of everything, it will be worth so much more. At 4 Men Mastery, this is exactly what we dig into. The things that are genuinely standing between you and who you are capable of becoming. If this video was useful, hit like, subscribe, and let me know in the comments, which of the 4 types of critics do you run into most? See you in the next one.